Welcome to Mr. Magazine, where the glitter of fame meets the gravity of real lives. If you want the full, unvarnished reading of this story, hit like, subscribe, and consider supporting the channel by pressing join. Your support keeps our lights on and our reporters digging. Now lean in, this is one of those stories that refuses to remain quiet. A hush ran through the inner circles of celebrity life long before the tabloids turned their wheels. It was not the kind of silence that follows closure, it had the texture of an omission that had outlived its usefulness. At the center of this hush lay a claim both intimate and explosive, that actor Kerem Bürsin, while building a public romance with actress Hande Erçel, had quietly become the father of a child from a previous, brief relationship, and that this fact had been kept from his partner for months. To the casual observer, Kerem and Hande's relationship had read like a manufactured fairy tale, carefully staged appearances, mutual support in comments and likes, and a bewitching air of compatibility. But behind the cameras, according to the constellation of whispers that now populate gossip columns, there was a more complicated chronology, one in which Kerem carried a secret that he revealed only within a very small circle, hesitating to make it part of the narrative he shared with Hande. Close friends, unnamed confidants, and tabloid stringers have all offered versions of a story in which love, loyalty, and fear braided into a knot that eventually had to be undone. When the truth, as these accounts assert, finally reached Hande, the moment was reported as devastating in its intimacy. Sources claim that the revelation occurred away from press lenses, in a quiet setting where there was no script, no crew, no retakes. The shock was said to be immediate and deep. Hande's reaction, as recounted by those inside the circle, was a stunned silence that carried a single, raw thought, the pain of being told something which, if discovered elsewhere, would have cut differently. "If I had heard this from anyone but you," she is said to have confessed to friends, "I don't know how I would have reacted." The reported line underlines not only the betrayal she might have felt but also the relief that it was Kerem who chose to speak. And yet those same sources paint Hande as a figure of surprising steadiness. Rather than delivering an ultimatum or a public eruption, she is credited with processing the information and responding with a measured demand for transparency going forward. The phrase attributed to her, that the past must remain the past and that fidelity in the present matters more than history, read as both a boundary and an invitation, a willingness to continue, but without more concealments. That posture, advocates say, marked a turning point, steering the couple from secret-keeping toward a negotiation of trust. This private reckoning nudged the duo into a quieter public life. Observers noticed a slowdown in joint appearances and a withdrawal from previously frequent shared moments on social platforms. Where before comments and likes publicly mirrored affection, the couple's visible mutuality entered a subtler phase, selective interactions, private gestures disguised as casual online behavior. A tabloid account even suggested the pair planned an extended getaway, a break, colleagues propose, to allow wounds to heal and to determine whether reconciliation should be a public act or a private pact. Inside the film sets and production caravans where Kerem currently works, colleagues have described a man transformed by the episode, quieter, more introspective, intensely professional. He is said to be channeling his energy into his projects while negotiating the personal fallout offstage. For his part, Hande, whose public persona rests on both allure and professionalism, is reported to have maintained a dignified restraint. Her followers noticed a shift in the tone of her posts, a sequence of deeper, more reflective captions, a handful of images tinged with contemplation. Insiders assert that the emotional candor presently visible is not weakness but recalibration. Rumors delved further, claiming that Kerem finally offered a full confession, a moment recounted as tearful and contrite. According to those who have fed the narrative, he admitted his fear, his procrastination, and his regret. He apologized for delaying the truth and asked for a chance to rebuild trust. The story suggests Hande responded with firm but compassionate insistence, openness. From that point forward, or the relationship will face a different reckoning. If these scenes occurred as reported, they read not like a melodramatic headline but like the quiet contingencies at the heart of long-term partnerships, mistakes acknowledged, promises negotiated, a shared effort at repair. Tabloid feeds say reconciliation quietly followed the rupture. They cite a sequence of small signals, mutual likes on social posts, reports of a joint holiday planned out of the public eye, talk of shared projects aimed at promoting family values and trust. Some commentators dismiss these as public relations maneuvers, others interpret them as sincere attempts to translate private growth into public narrative. Notably, rumors have even floated that the pair considered a collaborative social responsibility campaign centered on parenthood and transparency, an effort that, if real, would aim to recast private challenge as communal lesson. Yet the wider question remains unsettled: how could such a pivotal detail remain concealed for so long? Accounts claiming to know the answer point to the mechanics of celebrity life, compartmentalization, legal counsel, and the desire to protect an infant from exposure. Kerem, these sources claim, engaged only his immediate circle to manage the child's affairs, a choice born of fear that public disclosure would upend ongoing negotiations and relationships. Family members and a few close confidants carried the burden of discretion, performing the delicate work of privacy management while the actor maintained a veneer of normalcy in the public sphere. Despite all the conjecture, we must account for the human tendency to misread nuance as drama. Not every omission equates to malice, and not every confession is a catastrophe. The elements that make a story sensational also make it reductive. Still, the episode has placed the couple under a spotlight of scrutiny that rarely offers space for gradual, private repair. That pressure, commentators warn, is the cruelest element of fame, the demand to convert private labor into public spectacle before it is truly ready. So what now? If the patterns described by insiders are accurate, the relationship is undergoing a deliberate, if fragile, reconstruction. Both names remain in the headlines, both continue their professional trajectories, and both, if the whispers hold true, have agreed to a new contract of openness. Whether that fresh agreement will last depends upon a host of factors that tabloids cannot measure: the couple's capacity for empathy, the permanence of external pressures, and the endurance of private commitments when placed under public interrogation. Before we close, Mr. Magazine's community question: do you believe a relationship can be rebuilt after a revelation of this magnitude? Would your verdict differ if the secret was a past mistake rather than an ongoing deception? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We read every message and often feature the most resonant responses in follow-up pieces. Also tell us which Turkish celebrity story you want investigated next. Your suggestions shape our coverage. If you found this deep dive useful, please like, subscribe, and if you'd like to support our investigative efforts, press join. Your engagement helps us pursue more thoughtful reporting rather than empty gossip. Thank you for watching Mr. Magazine, where headlines meet humanity, and where we believe the real story is almost always more complicated than the first rumor.